Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Daily Footy and Other Sports with yours truly, Taz,
And Sean's there.
the sheep over there. So we've got a couple of things that we want to quickly talk to you about. We're not going to make this too long a video for you. Before I forget, I actually forgot to say this to you guys yesterday. If this is your first time watching our videos, please don't forget to leave a comment below, like the video, and of course, subscribe as well. If you've already subscribed and you're always watching our videos anyway, then continue enjoying our videos. But yeah, we've got a couple of quick topics, different sports to discuss. First and foremost, we're going to talk about athletics very quickly, how they've, because of the pandemic, have moved the expected 2021 World Athletics Championships to the following year in 2022. They've also added that it will not clash with the Commonwealth Games, which is expected to be hosted in Birmingham. Obviously, the reason there might have been a clash is because obviously the Commonwealth Games is like a smaller version of the Olympics and it's got a number of events in it, and athletics is obviously one of them. There's not much to sort of say about that, but pretty self-explanatory. What are your thoughts on that?
As you said, it's self-explanatory, just to make sure that every event is honoured to the utmost potential. We're not going to see two events happening in one summer or one period, and we can enjoy it. As you said, the Olympics is going to be happening potentially in 2021. If you've got three events happening in the same year, it's going to be overload, and it's not going to be helping each event overall in terms of what the athletes have to aspire towards in the first place.
What three events?
The Olympics will be in the 2021.
Mm-hmm. And what's the other one?
And then Commonwealth, and if the
Commonwealth scheduled, I think, for 2022.
I believe it's still 2021. It clashes with the Birmingham.
The dates of Birmingham 2022.
Oh, okay.
Because the Commonwealth were 2 years ago, I believe.
Okay.
So they're only worried about the clash between the Worlds and the Commonwealths. So
okay.
So I have to double check with you. Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, most of the athletes would have been prioritizing the Olympics anyway. There's already a question mark over whether certain people will make it to the Olympics because it's an extra added year on. We've mentioned this in the past as well. It's interesting to know.
How can you prepare? As you said, these athletes won't be able to prepare for two events, and it's going to affect the fan appeal as well. Or we just saw these guys work so hard. Are they going to be that interested in the next event?
Well, are they going to be pumped up for the rescheduled Olympics? I mean, younger athletes like Adam Peaty, who's he's the world record holder, so you could argue he's the greatest breaststroker there's ever been, and not just from a British perspective. So he's fantastic, and he's a young enough guy as well, so it's fine for him. But even then, you could argue that might his incentive be, his schedule's going to have to change a bit now because he was preparing and planning and working his way up towards this summer. Now he'll have to change it for the following summer, and older athletes are going to have to think, can I still do it? I don't know.
Exactly.
But yeah, we just want to quickly touch on that. And the next one's briefly touching on the cricket. Seems to be the first sport to actually sort of have come to an amicable decision amongst themselves.
British sport, by the way, just British sport, because we've spoken about other sports. Football across Europe have done the right thing.
Well, I mean, not just British sports. I mean, they're the first sport I've actually seen that's actually come to an amicable decision. I mean, if I can sort of vaguely quote, I mean, county cricketers have agreed a support package to help the first-class game So it's a voluntary support package that will set maximum reductions. I think that's the key words. Those are the key words: maximum reductions to salaries during the coronavirus pandemic. I hate to use the word, but it was in the quote, so I had to say it.
How about snooker? Snooker did it. The World Championships you're about to attend, we spoke about it before. They are supporting a lot of the athletes that may not be up the card.
I know, but you've got to think about it in the way that snooker is very much an individual sport. Agents don't get any money out of it unless, well, it comes out via the snooker players, whereas team sports in particular are just that. And you've got respective grounds and things like that and ground staff. You know, just look at the cricket grounds. I mean, they needed a lot of work on them. They need to be supported as well.
Oh, you mean the whole structure? Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
So, I think it probably does go beyond just the players. I'm just double checking.
It's just fantastic that I think the main emphasis to see is that the playing staff themselves have volunteered, have accepted the 25% cut, and it's been more straightforward compared to the more illustrious Premiership footballing teams that are have not fully gone through the cuts. Although, having said that, we've spoken numerous amount of times, they have donated a lot of money. Pep Guardiola being a manager, so we're not here to just say, "Oh, the Premiership's evil," blah blah blah. It's just a bit of a delicate situation.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the important thing is a lot of players and different sports and managers and coaches, etc. They do bad things, but doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person. There are still some, quite terrible people out there who are just not very nice, even if they are famous. But
Kyle Walker.
Yeah, no, he's just idiotic and immature. No, I mean, in fact, the PCA, the Professional Cricketers Association's giving up 1 million in expected 2020 prize money. So obviously their season hasn't started yet, but they're giving up 1 mil to help out. So, I think players are going to come together and they'll be okay about it if you're giving them prior warning, if you're having these discussions with them. Whereas you've got people like Spurs, Newcastle, Norwich, and I think there's someone else aside from Liverpool, I can't remember who it was, who just
Middlesbrough.
Was it Borough? Well, I mean, I think they were just focusing on the
Premiership
teams when they were listing it. But, just dumping the furlough on these guys, and then you've got Liverpool just join the party and then realise how, crazy they were in that decision, and then just
one is
backed
interesting.
out.
The Liverpool one's interesting in particular. We were speaking about, I'm going to go a bit of tangent. We're talking about clubs. Liverpool are complaining that some sides have leaked the information that they were going to go through it. So I want to emphasize on that, because it's not just Liverpool's, the majority of the Premiership sides, including Man City, Man U, all of these clubs, were going to go through it with it. That's why Man City had to U-turn, and themselves have to U-turn. And it's like the Man City, Arsenal are part of the plan to get Man City out. A lot of Premiership backbiting, and perhaps that's also what happened in Liverpool.
I think it's just the level of the club. Like, this is not a small time club, and this happens to be a club that hasn't won a league for a very long time, but they're still a big club, and they have actually had very recent success. They could not be in a better position than they have been in the last 30 odd years than they are now. They've actually had success. So it was one of the most absurd, selfish, baffling things. I mean, I don't really rate Carragher and Collymore very highly as pundits, never mind players, but they were spot on when they said, what are they doing? It just makes absolutely no sense.
You have to give him a lot of respect for that, especially Carragher. He's Liverpool through and through, and he even had to say that.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's starting to learn a bit from Gary Neville, isn't he? And actually starting to speak his mind up and actually make sense a bit more now. Thank goodness.
Even about Patrice Evra comment, I think that would be for another day. But even he said,
I mean, Patrice Evra will tell it to you as it is, and sometimes people like it, sometimes people don't. I don't like it when people just hide what they're actually thinking. And Mr. I love this game himself. He just tells it as it is. Okay, but it does appropriately move us on to football, which we're going to discuss. We've got 2 topics to discuss. What was the first
The
one?
clubs coronavirus has affected clubs that the value of all the Premiership clubs have dropped by 1.2 billion.
1.6. Well, it's an estimated figure.
1.6.
Unsurprisingly, the team that just spends and spends and spends and spends and spends, Man City, will apparently be will affect the most, with the biggest loss of around 225 mil. Hardly a surprise for me. I don't really have to elaborate too much. Well, I mean, because you always, you keep joking around and saying, well, United are spending this much or this much, and I keep firing back with, it's not that we want to spend that much, it's just we're being charged that much because we're the club.
Same thing with City.
But
same thing with Man City. Do you think that you're the only club that's getting overcharged because they know Man City have got a lot of money?
Yeah, but look at, when I saw one of the commentators say, wow, I'm sure most of that bench would get on the pitch. Yeah, because they bought the bench.
That's like you guys.
We didn't. Look at the bench.
I'm trying to go a bit too off topic.
Everywhere you look in the United squad, you're going to see homegrown. And if you don't see homegrown, you're going to see academy players.
Man City have been doing that as well, to be fair.
They've got one academy player that they could have got right, and they're still trying to ruin his career. You know who it is.
I love
I'm sorry, Phil Foden.
But yeah, you're right. Let's not. It's still interesting, but it's quite funny because so many Premiership teams make the top 10 most valuable clubs in the world, and although 1.6 billion is a huge figure, one club, Man United and Man City, all these clubs are worth nearly that much. So it just shows how much the last 10 games have caused an effect, and it makes you wonder why. If it's going to be possible to even postpone the season, to stop the season, that it has to go on because there's so much money on the line.
I think the intriguing part is actually more on the transfer front. I think Gary Neville was asked this yesterday or today in an interview, and he basically was asked about transfers. I think Ole was interviewed as well, and it was quite simply a case of, I think there aren't many clubs that would still be able to pay the big bucks for certain players. And because of United's fan base, they're in a position where they can do that.
I think no clubs, because even
no, I'm not saying I'm not saying they're going to, and I'm not saying they should, because this is a time where you should be, if anything, charging people reasonable amounts. The market went a bit bonkers in the last 4, 5, 6, 10 years.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always like this, and so this is their opportunity to sort of calm down a bit and, have reasonable, realistic valuations of players.
Yeah, that's what Bayern Munich have been saying. They said this is perhaps the best opportunity in order to restructure the whole emphasis of how much you spend on the player.
Well,
and this is a team that spends so much money.
Sancho is someone that we desperately want, and I think he wants to come here as well. But realistically, if you really, really, really put a proper evaluation down on him, and the market wasn't bonkers, how much would he be? 50, 60, 70? Maybe 60, 70? Huh?
Shearer was 15, and Ian Wright on Match of the Day said Shearer was better than Thierry Henry for him. So although Thierry Henry was sold for 16 million,
well, the thing is, you could question the quality of the player, but you can't question his record.
Yeah.
And his record is untouched, and he was a striker. He was paid to score, and he scored more than anyone else in the Premier League. So,
another interesting concept is you're talking about transfers. I want to talk about the whole of Europe. PSG is the number one when talking about players that may be affected by the value of a player. Kylian Mbappe, Neymar. Those two want to leave PSG.
No, they've taken the moral high ground. Bless them.
Now PSG may be able to keep them because now no club can afford them.
I'm gutted for them. They must be devastated. I'm sure the whole footballing neutral world is sort of thinking, oh, what a poor team, not not like they've coughed up 200 odds or something for each of them. Yes, we
And
need
David
to.
Silva's another one. David Silva's
Right.
opposite agenda.
No, you're doing it again. I'm going to stop you there because he's tangenting on his tangent, and this is why we've had to put a timer on him now. In fact, we just hit 5, so we're going to quickly do one more topic, and then we're going to leave you guys be.
A Man United legend manager, Tottenham's current manager.
Preferred Gigsy's 8 games as a caretaker manager, to be honest, but because at least I was smiling the whole time, and it was all going wrong for the team, but I was just smiling away because it was him. But no, it's Jose Mourinho, along with Ryan Sessegnon, Tanguy Ndombele, and who's the other one?
I think it was the Colombian defender Sanchez.
Really? I mean, I would have personally just gone with like Serge Aurier and go, you must not tackle everyone. Oh, that's probably why. Because Serge Aurier is like, you can't tackle anyone. Okay, I'm not coming to training because it's a 2 meters apart. But no, it was just the most absurd thing in the world, really. And I don't care if you're respecting the 2 meter distance. It's just silly. If one of them coughs in your direction, it's air. That's the problem, isn't it? The whole thing.
Way too risky.
A cough or a flu or a the sniffles, or even clearing your throat. That's a very common one. Or a yawn. These are all contagious. Did you know? I mean, it sounds weird, but people forget it. Even something when they see a yawn or a clearing the throat, other people start doing it on the tube, and it was just the most idiotic thing I've ever seen. I mean,
it's interesting. The Dortmund, we spoke about this in a couple episodes ago. Dortmund have already let the players train with each other. Quite a few teams
at a time, yeah.
But none of these players have shown symptoms. I'm not condoning it, but there's a reason why. I still don't think it should have happened. This is why they've apologized for doing it. I'm playing devil's advocate, trying to look at the good points there. It's still wrong to do overall.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, everyone's going to be whatever training these guys do, whether on the pitch together or at home, you don't really know what kind of form you're in until you're in a playing environment. That's why, generally speaking, when people come back from an injury, unless they're absolutely critical, but even then, that's why they start on the bench. Because you can't just chuck them back in. You shouldn't chuck them back in because they've had an injury and they need time to recover from it. So it's absolutely crucial that they obey the law. I mean, I still think it's not as crazy as Wuhan basically opening the doors of freedom to everyone. I think it scares me because it's just crying. It's scary crying out for some sort of some second surge or something like that. You can't be complacent about these things. You can't just think.
Exactly. They fake the numbers.
I haven't looked at the figures, but I mean, are the figures basically saying 0, 0, 0, 0? I don't think they are. And
they're just basically saying no new cases and people can retract the symptoms again. It's just a bad situation. But I feel sorry for Ndombele of all of those players because he's a player that's under pressure for Mourinho in the first place. He may have thought, okay, if I say no to the gaffer, am I going to hinder my position furthermore? We just
if I were him, I'd have said no, because I mean, anyone with a brain would have seen that when Mourinho went back to Chelsea and started really well, as he did with the start of United and had some success, he went into toxic mode not long after. In fact, he looked all happy and chummy and, but only for like a month or two at Spurs. And then he just became the toxic guy that we know him to be these days. So
it's interesting. Harry Winks was actually on BT Sports with Rio Ferdinand. It's just he was abiding through the whole isolation period. So it's fascinating. You would wonder if he was actually questioned to actually go or not. And he obviously would have said no.
Yeah. But what we're trying to say is,
How
everyone
does
just stop,
Yeah,
stop
I'm just
being
surprised this
silly.
information is leaked. It's extraordinary. It's to our benefit that the internet has got so much information coming out of it, but it's also going to be really dangerous. I'm sure a lot of clubs have been doing something to this manner. It's possible because it's a business model, and you want to make your club be as successful as possible. But as you said, at the same time, players are going through their regular routines. Harry Winks even said they meet each other online like this every day,
Yeah, but
and
that's
then
fine. That's being sensible. That's saying, like, I really miss you, man, but
I
we
miss
can
you too.
still. Well, that's made me a bit sick. I'm glad we're near the end of the video now. But no, basically, they want to see each other. They want to speak to each other, so they use online platforms to do it.
Yeah.
They do their training in the garden. Like Ole said, it'd be great to sort of have family members joining in with you, and you make it fun.
Yeah.
But but don't risk it, because you may know your car, but what happens when your car runs out of petrol?
Yeah.
You need to refill it. Where are you going to refill it? At a petrol station. Do you know who those petrol station
Yeah.
owners or customers are going to be? Do you know what condition they're going to be in?
Even
No.
the handle. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
why a lot of people,
Exactly.
the handle is very dangerous.
Why risk it? I mean, I appreciate sometimes you have to do your urgent shops, although I think you're actually left with no choice at the moment, because I think a number of supermarkets are only allowing online shopping, and I tested this out actually. Online shopping for, like, Sainsbury's, online shopping for the elderly and vulnerable. So you're
It's really
actually
risky.
having to do your shopping in person at the moment, and they're trying to control it as much as possible. But just don't
As you
risk
said,
it.
you can work with your family. There's actually a few really good videos coming out online. American sports stars. So Shaquille O'Neal retired. There's a video of him training with his son. And there's also another video of Floyd Mayweather teaching his son how to punch, all the basic
Mm,
boxing techniques. This is how you
that's
can approach it.
that is for another show. We've gone on a little bit, a few minutes
Yeah.
over, but we've gone over nevertheless. That's why we're giving ourselves a target, guys. So we're trying to save you guys as well. But that was our very, very quick little wrap up on what's been going on today. You guys are going to see this tomorrow morning. Like I said, we're going to try and getting some live videos out for you at some point, but we're not quite there yet. My hair's got to look better, you see.
Yeah.
So from Sean and myself, we're going to we'll leave you guys for the moment. Like I said earlier, if you've got any comments or issues or queries, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, and of course, if you haven't already, then don't forget to subscribe in the corner over there.
And our Instagram, we've got an Instagram account as
Yes,
well.
I've actually managed. Sean's helped to an extent, although it was very blurry when it first went up. I've fixed up the banner for you guys as well. It's much cooler.
Good work,
And
Tad.
yes, you may also have seen the thumbnail quality improve. That's got my sources now. But we have got the Instagram account both in the right corner of the banner, but you'll also see the address written smack bang in the middle in front of you if you want to check it out. But this is your prime source of content. So yeah, if you're watching on Instagram, then come over and we've got some videos for you. But yeah, until then, Sean and I will be back tomorrow. See you later, guys.